guys, this is Leah Michelle, Resistance Chicks, coming at you February 19th, 2017. We are going to the Munich Security Conference where John McCain
has just committed an act of treason. The globalists, they're melting. I'm melting. They're melting. The globalists are screaming. There are rats coming out from all over the place. You can identify the rats. They are going crazy. The globalists all over the entire globe are they're screaming, and our very own John McCain, thank God he never became president.
Do we have to call him our very own?
No, but I gotta tell you, he is a bad hombre, and he committed pretty much an act of treason right here. Let's just hear what he has to say. Oops. Shooting plane.
My friends, in the four decades I have attended this conference, I cannot recall a year where its purpose was more necessary or more important. And this panel is going to ask us to consider whether the West will survive. In recent years, this question would invite accusations of hyperbole and alarmism, not this
That means
year. What would Von Kleist's generation say if they saw our world today? I fear that much about it would be all too familiar for them, and they would be alarmed by it. They would be alarmed by an increasing turn away from universal values and toward old ties of...
He's twirling. He's twirling. Did you hear that?
I heard the twirling.
Go ahead.
Well, universal. I'm just like, there's that word again.
Globalist. If you don't believe in New World Order, just come on, listen to this speech.
Blood and race and sectarianism.
Let me start.
And race and toward old ties of blood and race and sectarianism.
Meaning, if you like the country that you're in and you consider yourself French or Italian or German, you're a bigot.
Yeah.
They would be alarmed by the hardening resentment we see towards immigrants and refugees and minority groups, especially Muslims. They would be alarmed by the growing inability and even unwillingness to separate truth from lies. They would be alarmed that more and more of our fellow citizens seem to be flirting with authoritarianism and romanticizing it as our moral equivalent.
What he's saying is that we're the totalitarians and you sheeple are supposed to be under our thumb, and you're rising up to be we the people again, and we don't like it.
Right.
I think
all the world leaders are clapping.
The Flynn issue obviously is something that shows that in many respects this administration is in disarray.
The boy is supposed to be a Republican. No one stepped out of line in the Democrats when Obama made all kind of mad mistakes. Okay? But they are ripping him one side. Ugh.
And they've got a lot of work to do. But I couldn't be happier to have a Secretary of Defense than General Mattis. You're going to see General Kelly. He's an outstanding individual. And there are those who are now going to be on his team who I think we can have great confidence, most importantly, on national security.
So with Flynn, you're seeing them in disarray. Now, I'm going to take you to Rand Paul over here. And what he says...
Well, what would you make of McCain's statement that we're creeping towards a situation where people are potentially supportive of dictatorship in this country?
Maybe your head.
Is that over the top, or is there a concern?
I think Senator McCain's perspective is colored by his disagreements with President Trump on foreign policy. If I were to look at foreign policy, I would say John McCain's been wrong on just about everything over the last 4 decades. He advocated for the Iraq War, which I think destabilized the Middle East. If you look at the map, there's probably at least 6 different countries where John McCain has advocated for having U.S. boots on the ground. John McCain's complaint is we're either not at war somewhere, or if we're at war, we leave too soon. So we're not there soon enough, and he wants us to stay forever wherever we send troops. So that's a foreign policy that is at odds with with President Trump, and also the idea of engagement, the idea of foreign policy realism, I think fits more neatly with President Trump, and with John McCain, the neoconservative label of let's make the world safe for democracy, we're going to topple every regime, hasn't worked. I mean, our intervention to destabilize the Assad regime has really made the chaos worse in Syria. And if you were to get rid of Assad today, I would actually worry about the 2 million Christians that are protected by Assad. So I think it's more a foreign policy debate, and Trump and McCain are on opposite sides of that debate, and I tend to sympathize more with the president that we need to change. We don't need to continue to have regime change throughout the world, nation building. It's expensive, and we don't have enough money to rebuild our own country if we're rebuilding everyone else's countries.
But just to clarify, what McCain said specifically is dictators get started by limiting freedom of the press. I imagine you...
Well, the thing is I don't agree with his analysis and applying that to the president.
Exactly.
I haven't seen any legislation coming forward that wants to limit the press. I see President Trump expressing his opinion rather forceful in his own, his own distinct way. But I see no evidence that anybody is putting forward any kind of legislation to limit the press.
Okay.
So I think people, this is colored by John McCain's disagreement with President Trump. It all is. Everything that he says about the president is colored by his own personal dispute he's got running with President Trump. And it should be taken with a grain of salt, because John McCain's the guy that's advocated for war everywhere. He would bankrupt the nation. And actually, we're very lucky John McCain's not in charge, because I think we'd be in perpetual war.
He certainly did talk about changing the libel laws during the campaign. I want to turn to the fire.
Here's the thing, you guys, and I love that Rand Paul pointed this out, because it's been rolling over in my head ever since these guys have been saying this. You're limiting the press. He is not making any legislation. Let me tell you how the market works in just about everything. You produce a product. The media is a product. They're not some sort of their own entity. It's a product.
Right.
Media is a product. If you do not produce a product that the consumers want to consume, then they're not going to do it. And so what Trump is really doing is he's encouraging people to stop consuming this product until the product changes. And that is the way that freedom works. It is actually exemplifying what freedom of speech is. Sorry with the saw. I know you guys, Matt's always out there working in the garage. You have to get it. It's not a saw, actually, it's just a grinder. It's just a grinder. But anyway, you guys get this. But for those of you that don't, or maybe you need this argument to be able to tell it to other people, you need to understand that the freedom of the press is free to produce and say whatever they want. But we're also free to find different avenues in which to get our media and our news.
Obama ripped Fox News up one side and the other. He never went on Fox News.
Oh, yeah.
I don't think you ever went. I just want to give you a clip of where John McCain is literally basically calling Trump dictator-in-chief. And of course, this is on CNN.
The fake news media failing you.
Sorry.
ABC, CBS, CNN is not my enemy. It is the enemy of the American people. You believe the press is the enemy? Do you believe any group of Americans are the enemy of another group of Americans?
No, because I have stock in the news.
I was talking about the period, as you know, of the New World Order. A fundamental part of that New World Order was a free press.
Now, when Lee and Michelle go talking about the New World Daggum Order and y'all people call us crazy, they are literally blatantly laying it out. They are calling it what they're calling it, and it is what it is. It's not a conspiracy theory, guys. It's the truth.
I hate the press. I hate you especially. A fundamental part of that New World Order was a free press. I hate the press. I hate you especially. But the fact is, we need you. We need a free press. We must have it. It's vital. If you want to preserve, and I'm very serious now, if you want to preserve democracy as we know it, you have to have a free and many times adversarial press. And without it, I'm afraid that we would lose.
Where was that adversarial press when Obama was in office for 8 years?
I was thinking the exact same thing.
So much of our individual liberties over time. That's how dictators get started.
You know how dictators get started? When you send us into war in 100 different countries.
That's how dictators get started, with tweets like that?
They get started by suppressing a free press. In other words, in consolidation of power, when you look at history, the first thing that dictators do is shut down the press. And I'm not saying that President Trump is trying to be a dictator. I'm just saying we need to learn the lessons of history.
All right, guys. So we just kind of went over that.
Could you just translate that one more time for them?
Okay, so in case you missed it, he's saying that Trump is trying to suppress the press. You aren't suppressing the press if you are giving people the freedom to get their news straight from the President of the United States. And if you're calling a spade, which is all Trump is doing, is these people are touting fake news, biased news.
They are so good. I have to tell you guys, you can see the truth, but a lot of people can't. These people are good at accusing others of what they're actually doing.
Guilty of.
They have been suppressing the press. They've been suppressing all the alternative news. You think they do interviews with Breitbart? You think they do interviews with Alex Jones? You think they do interviews with the Daily Caller? You think they do interviews with the Drudge? I mean, do you think they really do interviews with the alternative media?
No.
Do you think they give them the straight story?
No. Literally, I mean, you guys don't, and you guys do understand this. I don't know why I always say that, because our viewers really do get this. But for those of you that don't, NBC, CBS, CNN, there are these hub stations, and they feed storylines out to the local news all across America. And
to,
they
like,
have to
BuzzFeed
follow
and The Guardian
all
and
of those
Slate.
things. They have to follow it word for word. They cannot veer to the right or to the left or say.
New
And so
York Times.
it's not real reporting. It's just these big giant media conglomerates filtering down this cesspool of fake news and biased news, and that's what's being fed to our everyday Americans, and they watch it on their local channels, they watch it on their local nighttime news, and they eat it, and they think that this is real.
The most wonderful thing that I can say about all of this is that finally they're not hiding anymore.
They're just calling it like this. He just said New World Dago Order.
So come to us as we begin to unravel. We're going to go to the New York Post, and I'm going to show you.
We're starting to pull on
how
these threads.
Obama is creating an army. And I wouldn't even say it's Obama, because Obama is a puppet too. And I don't know exactly, to be honest, who is pulling all of Obama's strings, but there's many world leaders, the EU, all the heavy hitters in the EU, George Soros, all the big billionaires in this country.
It's all the big world banks, is what it is.
Well, thank you very much. Yes, it's all the big world banks. And so here's the thing. We're going to pull this apart, and you're going to see in our country that there's some things coming down the road, and it might not be pretty.
All right, people, get ready. Hold on to your seat, because we're about to take a ride. This is Leah Michelle, signing off for Resistance Chicks, where it's not a conspiracy theory if it's the truth. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to Mass Faith 3 and Resistance Chicks. Ring that bell so you get notifications every single time we put out new videos. And find us on Facebook, where we can interact with you guys on a daily basis. We love you guys. God bless.
I was cold all alone, no place for home every day, so afraid, but you called my name.